I have a listing to tell to you about today.
Excellent.
And it's one I just listed a couple days ago, and it is a cute little place out on the North Shore of Hood Canal, which is a ways away from here, but still a beautiful place. It would be a perfect vacation cabin. It's just a little A-frame that was built back in the 60s. The cabin is 1,290 square feet, and the deck is 1,300 square feet. So it's got a huge deck. Deck needs some work, and the cabin is old, but it's got a gorgeous view. It's on a little kind of inlet off of Hood Canal, and so you've got that right in front of you, and then you've got water access out to the main canal, and you've also got a trail that's just a little ways away out to the main canal. So, and you look out and see the canal and the mountains, and it's really glorious.
We are looking at some photos of it on the video stream. If you're watching the video stream on our YouTube channel, it does look beautiful. It is
very pretty. I managed to get out there when the sun was out and take some pictures, and it would be a wonderful place to just sit and think about how lucky you are to live in a place like that. You know, again, it's 18 miles out of Belfair, so it's a ways.
So do people use those like as second homes then?
You know, that's what when I talked to this is an estate. So remember we talked a little bit earlier about if you're buying an estate, you don't get the normal disclosure forms because the people who are handling the estate probably didn't live there, and that's the case here. But she told me that it was her mother's house, and her mother lived there full time, but she was one of the few who did. Most of her neighbors were just vacation folks. So yeah, but this has got it's got a septic system all hooked up. It's ready to go. It's on a water system, so it gets water. She told me you pay $200 or so for water for a year, and then you also pay $250 or so. Each house in that neighborhood pays that so they can dredge the little canal. So yeah, so the people next door have a couple of jet skis, and they zip around on their jet skis and go out on the canal, so you can do all that kind of fun stuff out there.
Make friends with them.
Yes, right, exactly. So it's a cute place. Love to have people take a look at it and see what they think. So it's a real popular area.
And they can find that going to your website?
They can go to the website, or they can go on the multiple listing website, or any of the search engines. It will show up if you put in the address. I don't know if I can give the address.
Why not?
It's 18811 Northeast North Shore Road in Tahuya.
Okay.
So, or you can just kind of search around for what's available on the canal. So, listed for $224,900.
All right.
So.
Sounds very nice.
It is very nice. It's, like I say, it's a small cabin. It's an older cabin, but it's got everything you need, and again, it's got that gorgeous view.
So we're in the process of being the buyer.
Yes.
Right. So what is our next step?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about. We've talked about the process of looking for the house, and so now you've found the house. And so you were asking about open houses, so maybe we should go there first.
Okay. Suppose you have an open house. What types of people are allowed into the open house?
I'm
Do
sure.
you have to be a potential buyer, or
no. And actually, the open houses that I've done, we're just so happy to see anybody that the goal is to get folks in the door.
Right.
And my philosophy is always, well, even if you're a neighbor, well, neighbors know people.
Right. Exactly.
And they may not be in the market, but they may know somebody who is. And if they can say, hey, I've seen this house.
Sure.
What great advertising that is. And so typically in Mason County, we kind of say we don't do open houses because the listings are so spread out that your chances of getting somebody are pretty slim. I mean, I've done open houses where you get two people, and and so it's a lot of work for two people. I've done successful open houses in places like Lacey and Bremerton and those places where it's a more of a confined neighborhood, so you're going to get folks that are just out driving around. But someplace like Lake Cushman or Timber Lakes or someplace like that, chances are people aren't just driving around to look at houses. So people who do open houses are happy to see whoever shows up for whatever reason. I think,
like you say, you could be driving along and say, oh, that looks like a nice neighborhood. You're not necessarily in the market, but you have a friend that is, and you're like, I'm gonna go check it out, and then you could tell them, and you never know.
Exactly, you never know, and the goal is to advertise the listing, and so however that happens, I'm happy about that. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's good answer.
I have one more then on this thing. Are the homeowners ever there as like a secret shopper? I mean, they're there seeing who's showing up?
We try to encourage them not to be.
I bet.
Or I do anyway, just because if it were my house, I wouldn't want to hear what people say about it.
Yeah.
People tend to come in and say, "Oh, what were they thinking painting that color?" or I would change this and this and this. You really don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So it's easier if the homeowners aren't there.
Okay.
So yeah.
Interesting.
But sometimes they can't be gone. So you just have to adapt to whatever the circumstance is. But it's easier to encourage folks to be honest about what they're looking for, and some people can be pretty cruel about what they think of your home decor.
Yeah,
that really isn't what you're buying when you buy a house. You're not buying the paint color or the decorations. You're buying the house. So.
And that's one of the biggest things that are sticking points to people, and it's the easiest thing to change, like the paint, for example.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wallpaper or what have you.
Yeah, so we try and encourage folks to try and look beyond that. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but if you can, you're buying the bones of the house. You're not buying the ugly pink couch or that kind of stuff. That stuff is all going to be gone. So, and a lot of times that's why I think it's easier to look at a house when it's vacant.
Sure.
There's all this the talk about staging it and all that kind of stuff. Well, in some houses that's important, but for me, I would rather see it empty, because then you can visualize where your furniture is going to go and not get distracted by where somebody else put their furniture.
Right.
So
I was watching a commercial the other day for a big box home building store, and they were touting their app that you could virtually put in appliances, or virtually change the color of the wall by pressing a thing.
I've seen those. Yeah, and I could see how that could be useful.
Yeah. Somebody's walking around with their phone, their augmented reality or whatever, and they're able to change the colors.
Right. Yeah, it is kind of fun actually to do that. I've kind of played around with that a little bit before. So
interesting.
So what I wanted to do, I brought a copy of the actual contract, and I thought maybe next time we can kind of go through filling out that contract. So when you find the house that you want to make an offer on, so there are three possibilities when you decide you're going to make an offer on the house. You make the offer and it goes off and it's accepted. That's the best case scenario. The second thing that could happen is that the seller doesn't like the price that you've offered, or doesn't like one of the conditions of your sale, and comes back with a counter offer. That's also good, because at least it means that the seller is willing to negotiate with you. The third option is that the seller is so irritated by your low offer that they don't even want to talk to you. And that, to me, is the worst case scenario. So, because you don't even have a chance in that scenario. So when we sit down and talk about this house that you want to make an offer on, the first thing we need to settle on is, okay, what price are we offering? And we really need to consider things like, how is the seller likely to respond to this offer? And in this market, if you really want this house, you probably are going to need to offer fairly close to asking price, because if you offer way low, somebody else is going to come in at a higher price and steal it out from under you. So.
Do you have contact with the seller's agent?
I do sometimes, yeah. You mean as far as setting a price?
Yeah, to see what type of offers that they're be willing to accept, so you could tell the buyers. Or
usually, I know when I get those phone calls, my first reaction is, well, give me an offer and we'll talk about it, because most agents like to see something in writing rather than just sort of hypothetical things. Yeah, but you can find out things like, is this a borderline short sale. So if you offer way less than the price, is it going to kick it into a short sale situation because the buyers have to have X amount of money to cash out their current thing? So you can find out things like that might influence what your offer would be. But so those are the three. Basically the three one, and you want to try and shoot for the first two and stay away from the third one. So you really have to be aware. And sometimes buyers will say, well, I'm going to offer what I'm going to offer. Well, okay, but you have to be aware that if you do that, you may miss out. So
well done. We are running just about out of time. We had that listing today, but you can go and watch that again on the video or see it at your website.
Yes.
And where do we get there again?
Dawn Pannel at johnlscott.com. Or you can call me at 360-490-4493, or you can come over and see me at the office on the corner of 3rd and Railroad.
We will all as well see you tomorrow for the parade, and
we'll be here for the parade.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Have a great rest of your day. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Enjoy Forest Festival.
See you at Forest Festival. Yes.
That does it for us here on iFiber One News Radio. You're listening to KMAS Shelton, and it's time for ABC News.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Daria Aldinger. Do you know anyone who got a job last month?